The throne room of Valtherus Prime pulsed with soft bioluminescent light, the walls alive with colors that shifted from azure to violet like a breathing thing. Princess Kira sat on the judgment seat, not quite a throne. Her people didn't believe in elevating rulers that dramatically, and tried not to let her ears flatten against her skull in visible frustration. And with my fleet at your disposal, Princess, Valtherus Prime would command respect from every system in the outer reaches, the Centauri admiral concluded, chest gleaming with medals that probably had impressive stories attached. Probably, Kira managed a diplomatic smile. Your service record is remarkable, Admiral Thex. Thank you for your presentation. The admiral bowed, confident, already mentally selecting which wing of the palace would become his quarters. He joined the other suitors in the observation gallery, a collection of the galaxy's most eligible and aggressively accomplished individuals. Her father, Sovereign Aldrich, leaned toward her. He commands 6 battle cruisers. I know, Father. The trade benefits alone. I know. Kira, the lunar alignment is in 6 days. You must choose. Must, should, tradition demands. Kira had heard variations of this for 3 months, while suitor after suitor performed their credentials like actors auditioning for a role. Military strength, economic power, political connections, scientific genius, each one impressive, each one exhausting. Next presentation, she called. A Martian merchant prince stepped forward, his assistant activating a holographic display of trade routes and profit projections. Kira let her mind drift, her sensitive ears picking up sounds beyond the throne room. Somewhere in the palace, someone was laughing genuinely. Water ran in the fountains, and from the eastern courtyard, the forgotten one that nobody used, came the soft sound of digging. She'd noticed it before, that sound. Someone working with soil and growing things while the rest of the palace performed politics. 12% increase in rare mineral exports, with exclusive. Thank you, Kira interrupted. Your proposal is noted. The merchant prince looked startled at being cut off mid-presentation. The court stirred with whispers. The sovereign gave her a warning look. Kira stood. I need air. We'll resume tomorrow. She left before anyone could protest, walking quickly through the palace corridors, away from expectations and performances, and men who saw her as a strategic alliance. Her feet carried her toward the eastern courtyard, toward the sound of honest work. She found him there, kneeling in dirt, carefully transplanting something with roots like silver threads. He wore simple clothes, dirt on his knees, completely focused on not damaging the delicate plant. Human, she realized. Part of Earth's diplomatic contingent, though clearly not one of the diplomats. That's a moonvine, she said. They're difficult. He looked up, startled, then returned his attention to the plant. I'm learning that. The root system is incredibly sensitive. Beautiful, though. The way it glows at night, your world has remarkable flora. You're not worried about getting it wrong. Terrified, but that's how you learn. He settled the plant carefully, packed soil around it, sat back. Sometimes I think plants are better company than people. They don't perform. They just grow or they don't. Kira found herself smiling genuinely for the first time in weeks. You're with the Earth delegation. Thomas Wade, agronomist. I'm here because apparently crop integration is relevant to trade discussions. He wiped his hands on his pants, finally really looking at her. His eyes widened slightly. Oh, I should probably. Please don't bow, and don't suddenly start listing your accomplishments. Wasn't planning to. My accomplishments are pretty much just good with plants and makes decent coffee. He gestured to the garden taking shape around him. I asked if I could use this courtyard. Nobody seemed to be using it. Hope that's all right. It's perfect, Kira said, and meant it. For the first time in 3 months, she felt like she could breathe. Kira returned to the courtyard the next evening and the evening after that. While suitors performed in throne rooms, she escaped to watch Thomas work with quiet competence, asking questions that had nothing to do with impressing anyone and everything to do with genuine curiosity. Why agriculture? She asked, helping him measure soil acidity. My grandmother's farm. She said you could tell everything about a person by how they treated growing things, whether they forced or nurtured, whether they were patient. He adjusted the sensor, frowned at the reading. Too alkaline here. The soil's fighting what I'm trying to plant. So you'll give up? No, I'll listen to what the soil's telling me and plant something that actually wants to grow here. Forcing things is how you kill them. Kira thought about the suitors, each one trying to force themselves into the role they thought she wanted. That sounds like wisdom. That sounds like common sense that people forget when they're focused on achievement. Thomas moved to another plot. On Earth, I worked with communities trying to grow crops in difficult terrain. The successful ones were always the farmers who worked with the land instead of against it. The ones who failed were usually the ones who decided they knew better than centuries of ecology. Is that why you're not pursuing the selection? You've decided you don't fit the ecology of palace life. Thomas laughed, a genuine sound that made his eyes crinkle. I'm not pursuing the selection because I'm a farmer who happens to be good at his job. You need someone who complements your role, not someone who has to pretend to be something they're not. What if someone didn't have to pretend? He met her eyes, those pointed ears of hers tilted forward in what he'd learned meant serious attention. Then that person would be remarkable, and probably not me. Over the following days, Kira learned about Earth's seasonal cycles, about crop rotation and companion planting, about Thomas's childhood in rural communities where people knew their neighbors and valued contribution over status. He asked about Valtharis culture with genuine interest, not political structures, but daily life. What did people eat? How did families celebrate? What made someone respected in their community? On my world, Kira explained, helping him prune a stubborn shrub, we value balance, the ability to lead without dominating, to be strong without being aggressive. Our heroes aren't warriors or conquerors. They're people who maintained harmony, who knew when to act and when to wait. Sounds like good gardening, Thomas said, knowing when to prune and when to let things grow wild. Exactly like that. She paused, secateurs in hand. Thomas, why do you think none of the suitors asked me what I actually want? Because they're too busy thinking about what they want, and because asking that question means risking an answer they can't provide. He took the secateurs, showed her a better angle for the cut. Here, like this. You want to encourage growth, not just make it look neat. Kira made the cut, watched the plant respond, and realized she'd learned more about leadership from this quiet agronomist than from any of her formal education. That night, the sovereign confronted her after another formal audience with suitors. The Andromeden commander is an excellent match. Strong, accomplished, politically advantageous. He's also arrogant, and talked over me 3 times during his presentation. That's confidence. That's disrespect dressed up as confidence. Kira's ears flattened. Father, I've met with 47 suitors. Not one has asked what I need in a partner. They've all told me what they'd bring, as if I'm a transaction to be closed. Marriage at your level is a transaction. It doesn't have to be. The sovereign studied his daughter. You've made your choice, haven't you? The human, the gardener. Kira's ears flicked up in surprise. How did you? I'm old, not blind. You disappear to the eastern courtyard. You smile genuinely for the first time in months. You ask him about soil composition with more interest than you've shown in any suitor's credentials. He sighed. Kira, he's not royal, not influential. Choosing him would be. Honest, she finished. It would be honest. The final audience arrived with the weight of ceremony and expectation. 7 suitors stood in formal array, representing 7 powerful interests, each one certain they understood what the princess needed. The gallery filled with dignitaries calculating political advantages, already composing the announcements they'd send home. The sovereign presented each suitor again, his voice steady despite his concerns. The Andromeden commander stood tallest, radiating certainty. Kira rose. The room fell silent. I've listened to remarkable presentations, she began. I've heard promises of strength, wealth, knowledge, and power. I don't doubt the sincerity or the merit behind these offers. Her ears tilted forward, that subtle signal of serious intent. But I've also learned something these past months. My people value balance above all else. The harmony between strength and gentleness, between ambition and contentment, between leading and listening. She descended from the judgment seat, walking through the space between suitors and court. A consort's role isn't to amplify power. It's to provide perspective, to remind the ruler what matters beyond politics, to be a partner in growth rather than conquest. She stopped at the edge of the formal gathering, looking toward where the minor diplomatic personnel stood. My choice is Thomas Wade of Earth. The room erupted. Suitors protested. He wasn't even a candidate, not formally presented, not remotely qualified by any traditional measure. The Andromeden commander's confidence shattered into outrage. Diplomats whispered frantically, recalculating everything. And Thomas, standing in his simple diplomatic uniform, looked absolutely terrified. Kira walked through the chaos to stand before him. "I'm sorry for the ambush. This isn't what you came here for." "Your Highness, I can't," Thomas struggled for words. "Why?" "Because you made me feel like myself instead of a prize to be won. Because your garden taught me more about partnership than any grand promise. Because you understand that lasting things grow slowly, that forcing bloom before its time kills the plant, that patience matters more than performance." She reached for his hand. "Because in 3 months of performances, you're the only person who never performed." Thomas looked at her hand in his, dirt still under both their nails from yesterday's work. "You know this will complicate everything." "I know. I'm just a farmer who got assigned to a diplomatic mission because someone needed a botanist. You're someone who knows when to nurture and when to prune, when to act and when to wait. You're someone who listens to what things need instead of deciding what they should be." Kira's ears tilted in what might have been hope or fear or both. "The palace has space for gardens, doesn't it?" Something shifted in Thomas's expression. Fear gave way to understanding, then to something that might have been wonder. "We'd need to test the soil conditions, plan carefully, some things you can't rush. I'm very patient. And if I'm terrible at palace politics, then you'll teach me to be better at gardening, and I'll teach you to survive state dinners. We'll balance each other." Thomas looked past her at the chaos still unfolding. Outraged suitors, bewildered diplomats, her father looking resigned and perhaps slightly proud. Then he looked back at Kira, at her pointed ears tilted hopefully forward, at the princess who chose humility over power and proved that strength could be quiet. "All right," he said. "Let's grow something together." The court eventually settled. Political adjustments were made. The Andromeden commander left with damaged pride but grudging respect for a princess brave enough to defy expectation. Earth's diplomatic corps quietly celebrated an outcome nobody had predicted. And in the eastern courtyard, now officially designated as the consort's garden, Thomas and Kira worked side by side in the soft, bioluminescent twilight, establishing beds where food would grow alongside ornamental plants, where function and beauty would balance like everything else on Valtharis Prime. "The moonvine's blooming," Thomas said, pointing to where silver flowers opened to the darkening sky. "The one we transplanted months ago, it took after all." Kira took his hand, their fingers intertwining naturally, and thought about how some choices look like mistakes until time reveals their wisdom. How sometimes what you need isn't the loudest or strongest or most accomplished option, but the one that helps you grow into your best self. "Some things are worth the wait," she said, "worth choosing against expectation." Thomas squeezed her hand gently. "Here's to growing slowly." Above them, Valtharis Prime's twin moons rose in perfect alignment, marking the beginning of something new, not a conquest or an alliance, but a genuine partnership between two people who understood that the best relationships, like the best gardens, flourish when tended with patience, honesty, and care.